Hello everyone, Rustus here, and this video is in response to a question that came up on one of my other videos about what is a good starter tarot deck to use if someone is interested in getting into tarot. I'm going to address that here and go over a couple cards and some thoughts while we sit by this super peaceful creek bed. So really the first thing when you're getting into tarot cards, it's very important to find a card that you like to look at, like a deck style that feels good. You're going to be spending a lot of time looking at those images, working with those images, and you don't want anything, at least when you're starting, you don't want anything that's going to, make you feel like you don't want to work with the deck because it's ugly or because you don't like it or whatever reasons you might have. You want a deck that calls to you. Now, maybe that goes without saying, but I wanted to mention that straight off the bat. That's super important. Secondly, I think to get started in tarot, it's really important that you stick to the basic kind of Rider-Waite symbology. Now, Rider-Waite, that's sort of the original deck. I highly recommend a Google search. All the images from a deck that is based on the Rider-Waite style will have very similar illustrations, and the cards will usually have the same meaning, and it's your good first kind of deck to have. Now, there are some decks out there I've seen that actually have the meanings of the cards printed on the cards. I think there's it's called starter tarot or beginner tarot, but I think that's probably overall, that's the best deck to get into. Now, in the second video of this series, I'm going to talk about what are some good initial exercises to do. But let's talk a little bit more about the Rider-Waite symbology. So, I've got some decks put out. Now, I only have 2 Rider-Waite style decks in my collection right now. I really did pare my collection down quite a bit. I have the Llewellyn Tarot, which I use a lot in my readings, and then I have the Hanson-Roberts Tarot, which is a little mini tarot deck. You can get a full-size version of this, but I bought this on a whim many years ago, and I keep it in my backpack and take it on trips with me, and it just fits really nicely in a pocket or a coat pocket, and it's nice to have. So that's my travel tarot, I guess. So what I've done is I've grabbed cards from both sets. So for instance, you have the 7 of Pentacles from the Llewellyn Tarot. And the Llewellyn Tarot is very much, both of these are very much sort of a medieval style imagery. This is more painted. These are like watercolor pencils maybe, or watercolors, or a mix. There we go. But as you can see, the 7 of Pentacles, this is what it looks like for the Llewellyn. This is what it looks like for the Hanson-Roberts. Very similar, right? Also, with the Tower, there's the Hanson-Roberts, and then you can see the Llewellyn also. Tower being hit by lightning, people may or may not be falling out of it. Destruction, chaos, something that is big and built by man being torn down by nature, etc., etc. The moon, here's the moon Llewellyn. And now the Hanson-Roberts, and I put this in here for a reason. The Hanson-Roberts this has a little bit more of the classic Rider-Waite symbology and imagery, whereas Llewellyn deviates just a little bit and has a little bit of a different meaning, but not much. So even in decks that use Rider-Waite terminology, I guess, visual terminology, they are going to maybe be a little different. So I highly recommend that you research a deck, get online, look at the images, look at reviews, see what people have to say. And finally, the 5 of Cups. Here's the Hanson-Roberts. And there's the Llewellyn Tarot. So there you go. I think that's probably the best way to go. Look for a deck. Look for a Rider-Waite deck. And that will get you a good beginning to learning how to work with the cards and communicate with the cards. The actual communication happens when you process, when your brain processes these images and what they mean to you. And I'm going to get into that in the second video. But just a quick little 5 to 8 minute video on a good beginner deck to begin with. It's redundant, sorry. Hope you enjoyed this. And look for part 2 coming up here shortly, which will be some initial beginner things to do with your tarot deck, initial steps.